And we're back with Marc Shannon. Great first half of conversation, really appreciate it. Let's start the second half off really starting to get a little intense here a little bit.
Sure.
Before any show, would Michael get you guys together and give you guys a pep talk or anything like that, or were you guys strictly
that was usually sound check, right? So we wouldn't see each other or rehearse. The band did not rehearse unless there was, a bunch of new stuff. Or I think over the years we might have had a dozen, in 25 years, maybe a dozen rehearsals.
Wow.
But you were expected to know your part. And people say, well, how did you do that? It was because we fell into roles. Like, I knew what my job was.
Yeah.
And if there was something, and everybody really had a very clear role, what it was expected of them. But when Mike would send out the advance, here's the set list, right? I would print it out. He would also send like a, hey, Sauce Man, grab the background vocal, grab the Don Dixon vocal part on this.
Yeah.
Or Sauce Man, try and, what do you think about mandolin on this? You know what I mean? Awesome. And then you would go and then you would run the new stuff at soundcheck. And that was the litmus test. If you didn't like it, or if you didn't think the band sounded good on the song, we didn't play it.
Wow.
We didn't play it. When you got there in your rig, he would always come over to you, what are you thinking? What are you doing? And that was really if there was a moment where, you were basically in the principal's office, but it was never bad. It was never, there was never any malicious intent or bad intentions.
Yeah.
It was all about, dude, it was more like, we're going to battle here. Do you have your stuff together?
So if one of you guys mess up during a show, hypothetically.
Well, there was a difference between mistakes and misbehavior. A mistake is I didn't see it coming, I didn't plan it. But misbehavior was I told you don't do that shit and you did it.
Yeah.
Then you got the talk, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't want to have the talk. The talk was not where you wanted.
You guys as bandmates had to be pretty rough on each other anyway. So
not at all.
You weren't.
That's
at all.
Awesome. We really didn't. All I can give you is my perspective. Right?
Yeah.
We really didn't, say much about each other because we knew all of us were, we were literally walking on the side of a cliff for all those shows because, we didn't practice,
Yeah.
So everybody had to have their ears on. Everybody knew what was expected of them. Everybody knew what their parts were. And your job was to do your job.
If you made a mistake on stage, out of humor or anything, did Michael ever look at you?
If there was a mistake.
Did he ever look at you and you go, oh, shit?
But if you did a bonehead thing,
yeah.
What I mean? It's no surprise to people that I went through a rough patch and got sober, right?
Yeah.
Before that happened, there was an incident on stage where Michael pulled me aside and basically said,
don't do that.
No, that's not going to be part of it.
Wow.
And if it is, then you're not a part of it.
Wow.
And so, conversely,
yeah.
Years later, when I got the cure, so to speak, he was my biggest supporter, and I tell this story often about Sound of a Train, but, that song, Sound of a Train, was a song that I had written and was meant to be for my second record. The first record was Any Ordinary Man, which Michael Stanley produced for me. As far as I know, it's the only full-length record he's ever produced for anyone else. It's the only one. It was just re-released from Line Level Records.
Wow.
And, I had gotten out of the place that I needed to go to get some medical help. And he sent me a text, said, Sauce Man, check your email. And I did, and there was a WAV file of him playing my song.
Wow.
Sound of a Train. And he put it on, and then. Now, Michael changed a couple parts of it, and I said, do you want to do a co-write on this? He goes, no. He goes, why don't we just do a small split where you got a small part of it? And he will say that most of the song is mine, which he's probably right. But the 80% that was mine was so tremendously impacted by the 20% of the changes he made that really made it work. That song is what it is because, and it's such an honor to me to have him cover one of my songs. It probably, if there was a moment for me, there was a game changer because it made me have faith again.
Yeah.
That I could do it. And I was really in a low place in my life. And Michael stepped up and said, yeah, man, that's a good song. And by the way, I'm putting it on my record, And that was a game changer for me.
As a kid, when most musicians All right, you know, they're sitting around with their buddies, they're talking and they're doing things. Hey, I want to get out and I want to play and I want to do this. And back in our day, in the 70s and stuff, everybody said it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
There was some of that.
You know, and that's the way it was back then. You know, people, even in school.
Yeah, but there was also no internet, and all we do was ride around in cars smoking bad weed, you know? So there wasn't a lot of time to do much except, you know, drive around in parkways and stuff, you know? Listen to music on our cars.
You know, sobriety is a tough thing, and I want to talk about that with you for a little bit.
Right.
You know, it was, most people don't get lucky and find that path
Right.
to get sobriety again.
Right.
What was your path?
Well, the way I look at it is that I never started out as a kid that said, hey, I'm going to grow up to be an alcoholic. I think that's what I'd like to do. I think that on a lot of levels, I worked in an area where there was chronic stress in a professional life. I think that there were some underlying issues from growing up that I probably pushed down a lot of things. I was not a person that would ask for help when I needed it. I was always the person that was taught to be independent by chance or by necessity, right? And so I didn't expect it, but I see addiction as a chronic illness, and there's just no way that you can fix it on yourself. If you think of it as an illness, it's like I'm also a type 2 diabetic. Now, if I eat a bunch of Ho-Hos and Twinkies, I don't feel well, right?
Yeah.
And for instance, if I had, you know, some sort of melanoma or cancer, you know what I mean? There are things that I need to do that would help me be better. But when it comes to the stigma of addiction, right? People don't think of it that way. They think of it as a character flaw. Well, you know, why doesn't he just stop drinking? You know what I mean? Or that's a choice. You chose it.
Yeah.
And they're right. I did choose to start drinking. But at some point, the chronic use of alcohol and, you know, some light drugs, you know, just became part of the fact where my brain changed and it became an addiction. And I couldn't choose anymore. People ask me, how did you know? You know, two things. Number one, I told myself I wasn't going to drink that day, and I couldn't not drink.
Yeah.
And number two, once I started drinking, I was that guy.
Yeah.
How's this gonna end tonight? You know? And so I tried many times to get some help, but finally surrendered and went into detox at St. Thomas Hospital.
What was your surreal moment to get you there, though? What was?
Well,
it
it was a culmination of a lot of moments, but I really have to thank a friend of mine who came over to my house and literally got me out of bed and got me into detox, because she cared for me such a great deal.
That's awesome.
It was at the long end of the hallway for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I had, like most of us that fall prey to addiction, I had lived in denial and I didn't know how to fix it. I thought I was a piece of crap. I didn't realize I was sick. Right? And then I needed to get medical attention, and then we could work on the deep emotional problems that are underneath us all.
Yeah.
You know, that cascading flow of the river into the sewer. You know, but you know, it was for me and foremost a long-term period of abstinence before I could get to work on the problem.
Did it change your whole perspective on the music industry once you got?
People ask me that all the time, and I think I went through a period where I was mending, where it was weird, you know. I mean, your synapses fire. There's you know what's called post-acute withdrawal, where your brain is still wanting that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where a lot of relapses come from. You have involuntary, most like what happens to a pill addict when he sees orange bottles with white caps. What?
Yeah.
What is that? I want that. You know. So you have to get through that period. For me, it was counseling, and you know, becoming part of a community of people that were just like me. You know, and just a 12-step program that really helped, and I'm still involved in that. And the final thing, besides being able to say, please help me, and joining a tribe of people that were just like me, was the tremendous gift of being able to be well and then help other people, you know, because it's a constant reminder to you.
When you write a letter for, or you write...
I do a column called Sober Chronicles for Devil Strip. I'm also involved in some volunteer and community work, but, you know, what's more important is when you see somebody, you go, that was me.
Yeah.
I was like that. And you see how sick they are and how much they hurt, and you go, I don't want that anymore. I don't want that anymore. So that's a real big deterrent for me. Plus, you know, it gives yourself a meaningfulness to help, you know, because there's times I want to go back and change the way things were. Like every single person that copes with the problem. I'm just talking about addiction. I'm talking about trauma of any kind. I'm talking about abusive relationships, mental health disorder, all those things, you know what I mean, are all about what recovery is all about.
Right.
Everybody's recovering from something, you know what I mean? And we've all got to, you know, at some point be kind to ourselves and say, I probably should get a little help here. You know,
Right.
but there's such a stigma with, you know, people who need mental health recovery or need alcoholic recovery or need, you know, trauma recovery. You know, if they were in a car wreck and they broke their arm, everybody like, hey, let's get you to the doctor.
Right.
But if you see somebody not doing well, people don't say that. They're not, the compassion with the stigma of addiction is not there.
Well,
and I want to change that.
From all of us resonators, fans, family, friends, everyone, we appreciate you
Thanks, man.
for your sobriety. I know it's pretty tough.
One drink away. We're like all
there.
of us, just one drink away.
I know, it's so hard. I mean, I struggle with chocolate milk, and everybody thinks I'm joking,
I know,
but
man,
it's
but
a
it's
struggle.
huge, man. You know, it's like a bag of Doritos. But no, I don't mean to minimize it, but I do know that I have an illness. And if I should go back, it wouldn't be very long for me before I'd be like, whoa, off
But you've been blessed.
off into the woods, man. You know, so yeah, but it's coming up on 7 years, which leads me into the new record I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's called Lucky 7.
Let me get to the end. Let me do that at the end. I want to get into
You
this.
got it, man. You do your thing.
What is your favorite Michael Stanley song to play?
Tough to say. I'd probably say The Ground.
Wow.
The Ground to me, because you know the hits are great. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody knows the hits, but there's something about that song and that record that I think is probably Michael's greatest piece of work. You know, and I love the old stuff, no doubt about it. It's always been great to me. I love it when people do Lover and the lights go up.
Yeah.
I love it when people are rocking when we do the hits. But The Ground to me has always been a song where I just close my eyes and I think it's one of his best pieces ever.
That's amazing to hear. It's amazing. Favorite venue to play in with Michael Stanley?
Akron Civic Theater.
Akron Civic. And it is a beautiful place.
It was where I saw him play and where I got to play with him. It was truly meaningful to me.
All right, so now we're going to talk about your Michael Stanley family. Are you ready?
Okay, you got it. Go ahead.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mention some names.
Probably the same answer for everyone.
I don't, if that's it, then so be it. So the first thing that comes to your mind when I mention the band member's name,
Sure.
just throw it out there.
Go ahead.
But I'm going to start off with something really, really tough. I asked Eric this question. I'm going to ask you this question because it really is an important question.
Okay.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
You know, okay. You know, for me, I go much more for White Christmas and that kind of stuff. But, you know, if that's your deal, you know what I mean? I don't like Brussels sprouts either, but a lot of people love them, you know? So Die Hard could be a Christmas movie. Yeah.
Could be, could not.
Yeah, I guess. I'll be watching it again when I go home tonight to let you know the answer.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Got it.
So let's start off with your bandmates.
Sure.
And we'll start off with Michael.
So, first and foremost, mentor, friend, boss. You know, there's no doubt about it that, you know, we all had the respect of him as being our employer. And we all knew what an honor it was. Listen to me, man, there's 40 other guitar players in Cleveland that could have gotten the job to play with Michael. Somehow I did. That was never lost on me, ever. That at any moment, somebody could step in and do a bang-up job. Maybe it wouldn't have been Marc Shannon, you know, but somebody could have done that job and everything would have gone on perfectly without me. And I always knew that every time I stepped on stage.
That's amazing to hear.
Yeah.
Rodney.
Rodney was the first friend I made. He was the guy at the audience shows that came up, banged on my window, goes, "Hey, you the new guitar player?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Hi, I'm Rodney." You know what I mean? First friend. Yeah.
Now everybody says he has a great sense of humor. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, he's naughty. He's a little bit naughty.
Is he?
Yeah. He's a naughty boy. Naughty boy.
Paul Wolf Christensen.
Paulie's just Paulie. You know what I mean? Kind, warm-hearted Paulie. Great player.
Danny Powers.
Amazing guitar player. Amazing guitar player. First and foremost, in my mind, you know, when Danny came in the band, my role changed. And I had to look at more of what can I do to fill the areas where because, you know, when you have a prize fighter like that, joins your band, you know what I mean? You got to be able to say, okay, well, what can I do to change to be the best of you? And my role changed completely when Danny came in.
That's awesome. Tommy Dove?
Tommy's probably one of the best drummers, more solid and highly respected, not just here in Cleveland, but across the nation as a drummer.
E-Rock.
My friend, you know what I mean? Solid bass player. Rock and I spent a lot of time together because, like I said earlier before the interview started, you know, you had the varsity players, which are the guys that were in MSB.
Yeah.
Then you had a little bit of like the junior varsity guys.
Yeah.
They got to be on varsity. We were like looking around the locker room going, what are we doing here? You know? And E-Rock had been with Michael for a lot longer than I do, but because we hadn't done those MSB records, we were sort of separate than the rest of those guys. But the guys never made us felt that way, but we always were pretty well. You know, when somebody would want me to sign, you know, Heartland record, I'd let them know, well, you know, I didn't play on this.
Right.
You know, so I would let them know that.
How about David Young?
David is an amazing, energy-packed musician and shuts up and plays his ass off. Yeah.
Guy's 100 mile an hour when he gets on
Plays
stage.
his ass off. Got no ass. Yeah.
How about Bob Plander?
Bob is a kind-hearted person, always the musical director of the group. Nothing but kind to me, always warm and welcoming, and you know, just a great player. Always made great suggestions to me.
And the wonderful Jennifer Lee.
Jennifer's our sister. All of our sisters are. The one in the dressing room, she always sang her ass off every night, and always would walk on stage and just do it. And that was always amazing to me, is how she could just. She and Michael had a very, very special symbiotic relationship that two performers have when they perform together, especially sang together that many years. You cannot fake that. You cannot fake it. It's just, it blends and molds. You know,
and there's such a chemistry with all you guys. I mean, there really is. The fans, you know, the fans that I talked to, and I talked to some today when we did the photo in downtown Cleveland, they just feel the better, I want to be politically correct, but they feel a better vibe at the Resonators. Like you guys gel better on stage. Everybody's having fun. Everybody gets along.
For 25 years.
And it's noticeable. I mean, the fans notice.
And, you know, we knew our place, we knew our roles. Everybody worked really hard and took it very seriously.
Yeah.
Because, again, I like to make the Bruce Springsteen analogy. We knew what we were into. We knew what we had to. And we also knew it was on us to come prepared with the tools. So everybody had to work really hard to show up at those shows to be prepared. There was no phoning it in with that band.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen.
Well, Mark, we're going to take a quick break and come back with some tough questions. We're going to talk about your upcoming project.
Sure.
The great new song you just released about Michael.
Sure.
So we'll be right back.